is very simple. I'm great. It feels incredibly cool to be back. It's super hectic and super frantic, but it's so good to finally be putting up events again. It was out of this world. It was very emotional. I felt like everyone was just pinching themselves. Like, are we really here? Is this really happening? And then on top of all that, we had the flying stage, the flying booth, made things even more surreal. There was always kind of a lack of the kind of drum and bass that I love to play and that I love to support in Belgium. So when I started DJing, everything was more on the like techie neuro side of things, and I was more into like crossover stuff, jump up type stuff, more liquid jazzy influenced music, and I started putting up events to kind of support that stuff and create a space for me to be able to DJ the way I wanted to DJ. And from starting those parties, I got into more and more opportunities to do bigger ones, and then ended up at doing one at Tricks with a guy that I used to run events with in another city. And from selling out Tricks, it was like 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people capacity venue. And we moved up from there to Lotto Arena and then eventually to Sports Palace. I grew up on hip hop and got into jungle around 95, which later turned into drum and bass, of course. I was already DJing back then and just got sucked into the movement and never left. And throughout the past 20 years, other genres of music I kind of latched onto, and it was cool because it kept things interesting. So I was into dubstep, bass house, like new kind of rave stuff that popped up around 10 years ago, and it's always cool to have new music like that to keep DJ sets interesting. The main thing is that I love to do both things, and I've got great teams to rely on, whether it's being A&R for Radar Records or Rampage Recordings, or being a DJ, or being part of the team that runs Rampage. It all has its captivating moments. It just keeps my day-to-day routine very fresh, very interesting, very diverse. Some months I mainly do events, other weeks or months I'm very much into making music, and because I can switch back and forth between all of those, it just keeps me motivated and it keeps everything fun. So the bigger the event gets, the more people we attract, the more feedback we get, and luckily most of it is possible. So all we need to do is say thanks and give love, but when people need help, we try to help the best way we can and as quickly as we can. It's often hard because feedback pours in by so many different channels, like there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's email, there's Twitter, comments, there's DMs, and too often the question is so vague or unclear that we have to ask for more info, and it takes time to come up with the proper answer. But at Rampage, we really pride ourselves on being forward thinking, in being inviting, being hospitable to people, making sure that there's no queues, that everything runs smoothly, that everything's comfortable. I'm honestly sure that you compare your experience at Rampage to any other event out there, whether it's a festival or a club show, you'd be very hard pressed to find an event that offers the same customer experience, where everything runs so smoothly, especially for such a large amount of people. And we try to improve that every time we do something. Obviously, the 2 years of pandemic were really rough, very demotivating, huge financial losses, lots of work for no result, which was very painful at times. Now that's behind us, but we still feel a lot because people are not 100% convinced that everything's safe, so they wait till the very last moment to buy tickets, which is very rough on a promoter, because we need money up front to be able to pay the people that are working at the festival. Like if we want a big stage, we have to pay that stage in advance, and we need some kind of income to make sure that we have that, we can provide that down payment. If everyone waits to the last minute to buy tickets, it makes it very hard for a promoter to come up with the funds to make sure everything is there. Luckily, our soldiers, as usual, are coming through. You know, we've already sold like 25,000 tickets, and we're still like 3-4 weeks before the festival. It's a big thing, and I can hear my fellow promoters say the same thing. It's pretty rough to plan ahead because you're not sure what's going to happen. I don't think there's a threat of COVID-19 popping up again. I don't think there's a threat of cancellations at all. I don't think we'll ever go back to the kind of lockdown situation that we knew sometimes in the past few years. But I think people are still getting used to the idea that we're back to normal, and I think that's the major threat right now. When the world opened up again in February, we decided, let's go all in. Let's just do the biggest fucking festival we can possibly imagine. So we added one extra stage, then we added another extra stage, then we added campsite stages, then we added pre-parties, then we added silent disco after parties. We came up with the idea of the big screen cinema. We added an extra swimming pool on the campsite. We put in more of the fairground attractions, so there's so much fun to be had. We're doing a festival market with tattoos and piercings and body painting, you know, all kinds of crazy shit. The festival site is like 3 times as big as it was in 2019. The campsite is 3 times as big as it was in 2019. It would be all be decked out to the max. Like, we have more showers, more toilets, more bars. It just will be more and more comfortable. It will be so easy for everyone to find what they need, to get what they want. There's lots of space to hang out. The production will be stepped up. More LED screens, more lighting fixtures. There's more hardwood floors. Like, if the sun's shining, there's shelters. If it's raining, you will be covered. Like, whatever the situation is, we get you covered. You know, it's going to be awesome. We have more artists, we have more diversity, we have bass house, we have special acts doing special stuff, we have people bringing surprise acts. The list is endless, and you really need to be there. This one is really one not to be missed. I mean, coming back after 2 years of pandemic with a festival of this size, of this nature, we really want everyone to be there and experience it, because it's going to be one to never forget. There's actually one act that I think would be really cool, and that's Skrillex. Especially be playing like a special all Skrillex type 2012 era dubstep, or whatever dubstep he's working on, or people he's working with, and just like a showcase set or something like that. That would be really amazing. The problem is that you never know what he's going to play when you book the guy, so maybe it's not even the best idea. It's a really big thing for Rampage to bring the next big thing in. Like, everyone can book the big headliners, but frankly, they're not always the most interesting acts on the bill. And they're not the acts that are making people really hype about the festival. To me, it's always been like smaller acts that are coming through, that are sounding really exciting, are doing new stuff, new things, that are pushing the sound. Those are the ones that really get me excited, and I feel that they have the fan bases that get really excited about their act playing Rampage. Because usually when these acts are popping up, they only play like smaller festivals, like opening slots at small festivals, or they play club shows exclusively. And usually it's the first time, very often it's the first time that they play a stage this big, like a Rampage stage. So their fan base is like, oh my God, my favorite new artist is going to be playing Rampage. I have to be there. I have to be part of history, because oftentimes it is history. And a lot of the acts that are big now have come through Rampage ages ago. Like someone like K9, who's a headliner now. He played his first international show for us back in the day, and there's so many more like them. I mean, I booked Dimension for the first time when he was just coming up, and now he's playing headline shows all over the world. And that's really cool about Rampage, that we have the platform to bring people onto such a big stage, especially the guys like Dub Valley. I mean, I've got a lot of time for the guys for Dub Valley. I mean, that's like the new breed of dubstep from Europe coming through, and I feel like Rampage has played a very big role in bringing dubstep back. Let's say 6-7 years ago, there was no dubstep around in Europe. Like, there were just a few, like a handful of small club nights, but there were no festivals and people weren't booking dubstep acts. And then we still kept bringing dubstep acts onto the big stage and play the good slots on the timetable. And I think that that's part of the reason what got a lot of people in Europe inspired to go in with the dubstep again. And now we have so many new dubstep artists that are doing such incredible things. And we have, luckily we have the platform at Rampage to give them a stage, or let them do the pre-party, or just have them pop up, sometimes alongside one of the bigger artists. We're doing a couple of releases at Rampage Recordings with some of those guys as well, and I'm very excited about that. feel like Rampage has already played a huge role in bringing dubstep back and bringing dubstep center stage. A lot of people that come to Rampage are drum and bass fans and they're like, it's gonna be dubstep, and I don't really like dubstep. But then they are at Rampage and they feel dubstep going off on that 100,000 watt sound system with the lasers, flashing and lights flashing and the bass in their belly and just everyone in the crowd going nuts around them, and they just get to experience it. They get to experience how cool it can be, and overnight they become fans again, or they become fans for the first time. And I think that's the big role that Rampage has played as far as dubstep in Europe is concerned. And we plan to push that. It's not hard because a lot of the superstars, so to speak, are from America or are just constantly touring in America, and they get paid so much money. It's sometimes hard to convince them to come to Belgium to play, but the ones that know are very eager to play. Like the artists that are really in touch with the scene, they know about Rampage and they know how fucking crazy it is, and they can't wait to come here and like super happy. A lot of the artists that we book are like, all right, I'm booked for Rampage. This is a bucket list situation. So finally one that they can cross off. So that's why we get so much energy from the big dubstep artists when they play Rampage. And Dub Valley is a very good example. So we're always on the lookout to bring new people in, new artists to make new artists come through. We linked up with Next Level in Holland. They're very much on the deep end of dubstep, and that's something that we haven't really been able to cater to because it doesn't really fit the big room. But now that we've done the second room at Sports Palace and we're doing special stages at Rampage Open Air, we can invite more of the attention towards the deeper end of dubstep, and that's something that's really cool as well. Yeah, of course, I'm 100% down with highlighting female talent, and we try to do so as much as we can. I mean, actually, we were one of the first to put on someone like Harriet Jackson. I'm talking like 5 years ago. We've been very, very supportive, probably the most supportive of someone like Coven. Katie Coven is like 100% down with Rampage, and we are 100% down with her and her team. Max and Katie have done incredible things. She has been flying the flag of female talent in drum and bass and dubstep for quite some time and doing it so well. Like, she's a proper superstar, and we need more people like that. So this year we have Jeannie, we have Sippy, we have Lazy, we have A Little Sound, we have Lens. I'm gonna miss out on a few. We have Gigi McGree and Mia, so I'm gonna obviously miss out on a few, but we try to book as many as we can, and we try to provide that platform and make sure that girls in the audience get to see female talent on stage just breaking shit down, because that's what's going to inspire them to do the same thing in the future. And that's how we're going to get more female talent on stage. Next thing we need is more female talent in the studio and get music out there from female talent, so girls, women around the world get to see that that's possible as well, that they need to strive to get to that point as well. Because it's a past COVID year, it's a very special year. We had to push on so many events. It just so happens that we have a second Sports Palace show in October, obviously the Renegade show, which is going to be super awesome. So it's very exciting to be able to do Sports Palace twice this year. Then we're also doing 2 nights event at AFES venue in Amsterdam. So we're doing Rampage Amsterdam. It's 2 nights of dubstep and drum and bass. We're announcing the lineup very soon now. It's the 4th and the 5th of November in the biggest hall in Amsterdam, the nicest hall, which is going to be able to provide incredible production like you're used to from us. That's the 4th event that we're doing this year. But as of 2023, it's going to be March Sports Palace, July Open Air, and November AFES Amsterdam. Well, we've had a lot of talks. A lot of people have been interested, from China to New Zealand to UK to America. But it's a question of finding the right partners and finding the right attitude. Rampage is a very special thing. We care a lot about the people that buy the tickets, that come to the parties. Everything needs to be super smooth. Everything needs to be in order. We need to be able to count on the people that are going to represent us in other territories. You know, we can't have someone doing a half-assed job to make a quick buck. So it needs to be 100%, or we don't do it at all. well, so far we haven't found that one. We haven't met the right person to bring Rampage outside of Belgium, except obviously for the Netherlands, where we have a very cool partner where we're doing A-Fest Amsterdam on the 4th and the 5th of November. So right now I would definitely say it would be the past one in March in Sports Palace. It was so incredible, it was out of this world, so surreal being back in Sports Palace after 3 years really. The last time we were at Sports Palace was March 2019, so that's 3 years of no Sports Palace Rampage show. So to be back, to have everyone there, like everyone felt so great to be back. It was like one big family, very emotional. Plus we had that final Noisia show. We finally had Panulin playing. We finally had Cameron Crooked and Matthews going back to back. I felt so good playing the show that I played. I went on that flying booth. I created a VIP of the Rampage anthem specifically for that show in order to make that booth go up and get that, just create something that to me felt exactly right for the moment. And just looking back at the footage and just hearing people going absolutely apeshit, just like shouting and crying and jumping, and it obviously came across the way I wanted it to, and that's just such a good feeling. So we had the flying booth at Sports Palace in March, and everyone was like, all right, so Rampage had 2 years to prepare for this, and they came up with this amazing thing, and it was the best thing ever, and oh my god, we've never seen something like this before. And the funny thing is, we only came up with the flying booth 3 weeks before the event. And the reason we had the flying booth is because we were doing a shared production with another event that needed that kind of production element in the ceiling of the Sports Palace. And we couldn't break it down for some reason because it took too much time. We didn't have enough time to make that changeover. So we had to do it without changing that production element. So we decided to use it, and we hung up a booth underneath it. And because of that stupid, simple thing, the fact that we had a production element that we couldn't break down, we came up with something that maybe made this edition the most noticeable, the most memorable of all time. You need to be there. It's going to be absolutely insane. So I think everyone's jaw is going to drop to the floor. Your eyes are going to pop out, and you're going to be like, this is not real. Because this is going to be the festival to end all festivals. I can't say too much, you just need, make sure you're there. Make sure you're there, you won't be sorry.